If you need somebody to talk to, we're here.
That's it.
What's good, good people? I'm OBO, and in case you didn't know, I'm the G in LGBTQ, and you're watching It's Just Not Adding Up. So get in here and act like you got some sense. We're about to create some space. So who do you think coming out is for?
I think you should subscribe, but maybe that's just me.
I think it's changed, right? I think a few years ago, coming out was for everybody else. I think it was like almost to like kind of create a boundary of like, this is who I am, this is what I like. So if you are not with that, then cool, but I'm just letting my intentions be known. Now I think that coming out is really just for you. It's almost like a sense of release for yourself so that you are now stepping into and leaning into who you really truly believe you are. I think coming out is more of like a you freeing yourself and accepting yourself more than anyone enough to say, this is who I am, and I know it so much that I can tell it to whoever.
So do you think you come out, then you navigate your sexuality, or do you think you navigate your sexuality and then you come out?
I think you come out and then navigate, or at least from my personal experience, I thought I knew what I was. I thought I knew what my sexuality was. I still, dated women because, I didn't want to disappoint my parents. This whole like notion of like your parents have this vision of what they want for your life, and you end up either living in that vision or creating your own path.
Yeah.
And I think I, for a very long time, was just trying to do the right thing because I know what my parents wanted would make them happy. But then once I realized that like I can't control my own urges, like I know what I want and I'm ultimately not happy. And for me to drag somebody else's life through me figuring it out didn't seem fair.
Yeah.
So I decided that me coming out was me accepting who I was and what it was, and it was like when I went to college. So, like they say, when you go to school, you can really like reinvent yourself and become a whole new person. You're a loser at home. Get back here.
You're popping.
Big time, big shot going on. So I just took that opportunity, and I was like, nobody here really knows me except for a few sprinkle of people. Those sprinkle of people, I already gathered that they know what, or think that they know whatever they know about my sexuality. So
yeah.
I'm going to just be me, and I'm going to do whatever I want, and I'm going to accept that, and then that allowed me to be able to explore my sexuality.
And was exploring like behavior? Was it language? Was it shifting between titles?
It was everything. Okay. It was like sexual exploration. It was, I don't know, I don't necessarily think it was labels because I still identify as my pronouns are he, him. Like I very much still know that I am a man and want to always live in that.
Yeah.
But I just kind of wanted to explore what it meant like as my expression of being gay. You have some guys who are a little bit more flamboyant. You have some guys who are more masculine leaning. And I kind of just needed to figure out what that looked like for me because I've been playing a role for so long that I had almost like lost my own identity in a sense,
for sure.
And living up to somebody else's standard of me. So I just wanted to explore it and just kind of figure it out. So then that way I am getting to know myself. I'm getting to know the things that I like and the things that I don't like and what things I accept and won't accept.
I feel like it's tough, and I say this often. I feel like nothing stops for you to figure it out.
Right.
And that's the 7. If we could, if you don't mind, can you, hey buddy, if you don't mind, could you? But I feel like people always talk about like, oh, there's no like, we don't want to give you any special treatment, right? And it's not necessarily special treatment as much as it's nothing stopping while we're trying to navigate this over here,
right,
in the midst of navigating everything else.
Right.
So I'm navigating everything that everyone's navigating in the midst of navigating who I actually am.
Myself, yeah.
And not just who I am, but who I want to be. Because there's 3 people who live within us. There is who we are, who we want to be, and who we have to be. And I think for a lot of us, for a lot of queer guys especially, we're who we have to be for the majority of for so long, right? Like who I have to be to appease my family, appease my friends, to find safe spaces, And so like even when you're coming out, like was it like I get to be gay now? So I'm going to explore sex, or is it I get to be gay now? I'm going to find community. I get to be gay now. I'm going to like dress a certain way. Like, what did that look like?
I didn't necessarily have a strong intention on like, yo, I want to.
Seven's not going to stop until he's part of this.
I want to see, you know, what sexuality looks like for me. I want to see, like, you know, how my fashion choice changes, how I can like really evolve. But I do think for a long time I almost was afraid of doing too much.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to become like super flamboyant for me, because I think hearing the ridicule that they got from people
Facts.
in my life, I didn't want them to think of or talk to me about me in that manner.
Yep.
And I don't want the fake shit, right? Like
Facts.
I don't want you to act like, you know, oh, now you're all so accepting of this, but like I know how you really feel.
Facts.
My first friend at Howard, his name is Jeremy. He was
What's up, Jeremy?
like my best friend still to this day. Just celebrated his birthday. And so he like literally accepted me for who I was. He lived right across the hall from me. He was somebody that I can confide in. I could talk about, how do I do this? How do I, you know, like even down to, you know, when you're performing sexual acts, like how do I properly prepare myself?
Facts.
Like things like that, you don't know, and you don't really get to. There's not a lot of people who are willing to like explain it to you all the time
without attaching shame to you.
Without attaching shame to it.
So I think even in the community, it's hard to find spaces in which you like. I think it's hard to do something that you think is wrong, right.
Right.
You know, and I think it becomes this weird space, even for me, navigating my sexuality in the midst of like, this can sound very like gaslighting, I think a little bit, but it's like because people didn't assume I was queer as an adult. I found myself having to champion my own self to like really come into space as my full self, because sometimes my full self still didn't tell the story.
When you came out, was it like to everybody? Was it family? Was it like how did you decide?
Yeah.
And then from there, the new people that you met, was it like this is who I am and like that, or did you still like kind of live, quote unquote, a little closeted in a way of not being open?
No, such a good question. I think for me, because I'm still coming out, to be honest, right? Like I feel like it's not. And again, I sometimes wish, and we were talking earlier about like, you know, those kind of subtleties that make you believe you to be queer, and I think it kind of helps in terms of not having to keep announcing it every 2 seconds. Yeah. So for me, I'm in spaces. It's like, oh, my homegirl likes you. Want me to set it up?
No. But why not?
Because I'm gay. You know what I mean? It's like this constant thing. So for me, it was most important that I told my dad.
Yeah.
That was the most. For me, it was like, I think maybe because I've been so convicted in being a father my whole life.
Yeah.
That I felt like if I had a son and I was the last person to know anything about him, I would be hurt.
Right.
And I just didn't hurt my dad's feelings in that way. And I think for me, it was more like, I think I'm about to start telling people.
And I don't want you to be the last person.
So let me make this happen first. Yep. Right. And so that's what it was for me. And there was our own little thing we had to work through in that regard. But and after that, for me, when I started to be comfortable with myself, it was about community first.
Yeah.
I think I had navigated sex as a DL person, right? I had navigated sex in the closet. So it was like, you know,
it has its own its own set of troubles and trauma and all those things. Yeah.
That's another episode. But like, you know, so it wasn't necessarily sex, but I think even in me trying to navigate community, I still ran into a lot of sex.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think for a lot of us, it's hard. Old habits die hard, right? And so I think for a lot of us, you're talking about taking a whole bunch of closeted men and shoving them in a closet together. What are they going to do in the closet together? Besides, right? Like we don't have a lot of room.
We're already on top of each other.
Let's make it happen. And so it becomes this really weird space. And so for me, it was like, I'm looking for friendship, but to be honest, like, I'm not mad at sex in the midst of looking for friendship. So it's like, it ended up being those kind of weird interactions a lot of us have, where it's like, we're friends, we just had sex, but we're homies. Yeah. So like when it comes to like, even somebody now who may be wrestling with like the urge to come out, what are some preliminary things you would advise somebody to do before attaching language to mouth?
I would just say, be sure in one, yourself. Like know who you are, because I think that if you come especially into a community like this and you are unsure of who you are, it's very easy to get lost. And I think that it's also very easy for then people to start telling you who you are. Like, I think then the quote of like, you know, you are the company that you keep becomes even more true, because if you just start hanging out with any gay person that you see and you don't know like if their morals or like whatever align with who you are, then you end up 20 years down the road, down someplace that you had no business going, had you just kind of like taken the time to just like sit with yourself first. So I would definitely say like you got to kind of sit with yourself and know who you are first, so that you don't get lost in everyone else and in this very busy community. And then once that's there, I just say like you do what's comfortable for you, right? Like nobody's story is going to be the same.
Yeah.
You know, the people in your life that are important to you to tell, like your dad may or may not have been the same for me. I may have parents who don't care and I don't feel like they're, you know, important to let me know. But like I have friends who I may feel like are, oh my God, I have to tell them because we've been best friends and we talk about everything. But yet this is the one thing that I've kept from them for years.
Yeah.
So it's really all circumstantial. So I think the best thing is to do what's best for you. And the only way to do what's best for you is to know who you are. And that's the premise of it all.
Everything, right?
Come out when you are ready. Come out when you know that you are ready to come out. Like, if y'all draw the curtains and I'm not dressed and I'm not ready yet, then like I'm shrieking like I'm not dressed. So like get yourself ready first, you know? Do your full glam. Do your life's glam. Like get yourself together and then present yourself in a way that you feel comfortable.
How do I say this specifically? Like, if the label fits for you, please rock it. I'm not mad at a label at all. If the dupe fits, put that on too. But more so, what I'm saying is, just literally be who you are. Me now as an adult, I don't spend my time in common spaces saying that I'm gay.
Right.
As much as I will say, you know, my ex-boyfriend. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or I'm going on a date with this guy, he was great.
And you'll know.
You'll know what type of time I'm on, right? It's not so much me feeling like I need to make a definitive like statement in the beginning. Hey guys, just so we're all clear, I'm gay before I get to talking, you know? But that speaks more to the world than it does to us, though.
It does. And I mean, but do you think that then, like, does that become like a sensitivity thing? Like, does that mean that people are coming out for everyone else's comfortability?
I think so. I think that's because in my mind, like, what does it serve me to tell you who I am?
Other than to get to know you.
Well, I can show you who I am, can I not?
You can.
But I think in our mind, we feel like there's certain things you need to know before you even feel comfortable getting to know me. Like, I took a class in college. I was a psychology major. I think I said that on another episode. I don't want to keep saying like I'm like the psychology major, but like
I went to Harvard.
I majored in psychology, but like, you know, what we talk about was like, I took a class and the teacher asked us how many things are necessary to know before you pass over kindness.
Yeah.
Like, is religion necessary to know? Is there gender necessary to know? Is there orientation? And some of these are irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Not saying my sexuality is irrelevant. It's not. But again, you'll learn over time. I don't know if it's preliminary for you to know that I like guys, for you to become like cool with me. Yeah, you know, so I think for us, we feel like I don't want to start adding vulnerability to this experience before you know. Because I feel like if you know, you may or may not treat me differently.
No, to your point of like, why do I have to feel like I have to tell you my sexuality for you to be kind to me? However, what if that is something that can help the two of you to bond? So like, are we then holding sexuality in such a high esteem that it's like one of the most sacred things, versus us also retrospectively saying, it's just who I'm sleeping with. It's just who I like to go home to. Like where's the pedestal?
You're right. Like, I even resent the idea like sex is my sexuality is my business. I don't think of it as a business, right? It's like who I am.
Yeah.
Like your straightness isn't your business. It's just you have the privilege of it being a default, right?
Yeah.
Like we use straight as people don't actually have a girlfriend when they ask about relationship. They're not gonna ask. They're not gonna say partner or say boyfriend first. Usually they'll say you have a girlfriend. And so I think I don't know. It's a slippery slope because it's like on the one hand, like you're not really charged to carry this torch of homosexuality as a gay man to even fight the fight, right? But at the same time, you kind of like got to, but you don't. In the same regard, it's like you don't have to tell people that you're gay, but like why not? And you know, and I'm laughing.
Not a big deal,
Right? It's not a thing. I struggle with it being, and this is a slippery slope too, being relevant. But usually, I will admit, usually it's relevant. I meet a lot of guys who say things like, if you ask me, I'll tell you, but I think there's also usually coming from guys who have organized their life so that no one ever asks.
Right.
Like, why would they ask you if you come in with a girl? Yeah. Why would I ask you if you're queer? Like, you know what I mean? So, like, you can always kind of say, no one asked, but why would I ask? You perpetuated what it means to be straight.
Yeah.
And so I think, for me, I'm gay. The channel guys, but
look at the Apple Watch.
I'm getting where I go. You know what I mean? But I think, and so for me, but I think also in the same regard, and honestly, most of my conversations do center in sexuality in some shape or fashion. Yeah. Even if it's straightness, it's still centered in sexuality. But I don't have an answer, to be honest, about like how to navigate saying it versus not saying it, or it being a common denominator, or if it's just the sexuality is a common denominator, or is a micro part of the sexuality the common denominator. Like, do we both like having casual sex with guys? Is that our thing, right? And so is it casual sex or is it our sexuality, right? Like, and so I think it becomes those spaces, but I just don't know.
I think about too, and I think I mentioned this to you. It's like straight people don't have to come out.
Facts.
I don't have to keep saying, "Hey y'all, I'm straight." Hey, me over here, the straight one. Yeah, I'm straight. Like I don't have to keep doing that. So I feel like, to your point, like it's all about how much you really want to let people in, and sometimes you don't even have to say anything, because again, when I walk into a room, my sexuality isn't what is driving me. It's not my core of a person. It's not everything that I'm made up of. Like, I have so many other things that make me a valuable person outside of my sexual preference. Like, another thing too, I've realized that, like, even my friend groups have shifted in the past years. Past 10 years or so. I still have my close straight friends, male straight friends, but a majority of my friendships are gay. And if the moves don't involve going to a club where there are like-minded community or whatever, I found myself kind of stepping away from that. So I don't know if it was because you kind of don't feel comfortable in those spaces, or you don't feel like you have a lot of things to relate to with people.
So do you feel like you're still navigating your sexuality?
Always. I feel like everybody's always going to keep navigating. As you change as a person, certain things are going to change for you.
Is there a true difference between navigating sexuality and navigating you as an individual?
Yes. Sexuality is dynamic, right? I know friends, if we're strictly talking sex, I know friends who were atop all of their gay career and then had a mid-season crisis and was like, I think I want to get poked. Yeah. And it's like, okay, cool. And then now that's a whole new step for you to kind of go through. Yeah. So I think as you grow, as you become more open, perfect example. I my dating history has normally been more masculine men, in terms of if you're not walking around big brolic, hard, I don't think I'm gonna be attracted to you. However, I think that in the past couple years, I've learned to just become acceptant of even small nuances of me talking to my dude and be like, child, girl, it's still fluid, and that doesn't mean that I'm not attracted to you in that way anymore. But I've come to realize that just being in the community, you realize hey, we're all gay at the end of the day. We all have our nuanced things. And so, you kind of can't judge your attraction to someone just solely based on how their outward persona is for the world.
What advice would you give to someone who is receiving the coming out story of somebody else, right? On the opposite end of it.
Just listen. Just be there. I know for me, my sister had the best response out of anybody, and it was so short. And I'm not gonna cry. I'm not, because it's not that serious.
But you can.
But I literally told her, and she was like, "Okay, and." And I was just like, it was so simple, but it was like the perfect thing because it let me know I hear you, but it doesn't change anything. And especially for those relationships that are like super important to you, those responses can really matter, and really kind of hold weight. And you'll be surprised of the little things that people remember about how you said something or how you treated them in a moment of extreme vulnerability, because what may seem not as vulnerable to you, to me, I may be here bearing my soul. And so I think it was just like the perfect blend of like, I hear you, but I just know that I accept you, and that has nothing to do with the love that I have for you. So I think just be there, just listen, and just be reassuring. But also know the person that you're talking to, right? Like, some people might need an extra little, no, like, you all right? But like, some people might just need a brush it off. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, I still see you. So you trying to go get some wings now or what? Like, you know, like it just know the person that you're with. Yeah.
Yeah, we can end it there because that was good. Keep creating space, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.
Hell, if you're watching this right now and you need somebody to come and talk to, or to come out to, or to practice, or whatever, I'm here. I'm sure he's here.
And we're queer.
But like, you know, I really just think sometimes you have to have the right space around you to be able to navigate things. And as you start to experience new parts of your sexuality, there's going to be new pieces of advice that you need. There's going to be, you know, new spaces that you enter, new people that you meet that can change your perspective for you.
Yeah. So all in all, I would say focus on being yourself, be open to community.
Yep.
And if you need somebody to talk to, we're here.
That's it.
In the meantime, keep creating space. Peace.